Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Swift Conversation. I'm Adesope Olajide, and joining me today to have an in-depth conversation of the last 12 months is one of my favorites, actually, a good friend of mine and an industry head. It's the lovely Gracey May.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, it's been a while. You look amazing.
Thank you. Trying to keep up with you. Congrats. I'm happy to be in your new home.
Oh, no, this is a fantastic space, and just, it's a space that's created to have conversations like this, to not only inform our culture, but to build it up. Now, before we jump right into it, it'll be unfair not to speak about who Gracey May is. The simple description would be, this is a music executive, a PR executive, someone that manages artists and entertainers, a culture advocate. I'll stop at that. But how would you introduce yourself to people that are probably just meeting you for the first time?
So I'd say, hi, I'm Gracey. I'm a music executive that specializes in African music. I'm on the voting member board for the Grammys, the BRITs, the MOBOs, the BETs. I work with Forbes Black. I run my own PR agency called May, obviously after me. And we have represented so many talented people. This year alone, we represented the NFL and Olamide, and that was literally a month ago. So we are building bridges, blueprints, brands. We do everything from tour management, talent management, PR, marketing, branding, and the list goes on. Anything you'd get at a traditional label, we offer. I have a global team based in Nigeria, in the UK and the US, and we're doing a lot of great work to make Africa great again.
Does that tire you at all, or?
100%. But I mean, when you love what you're doing, it's never really work. I recently did a speech at LSC where we were talking about the dynamics of the creative industry on the continent and in the diaspora. And one of the questions was, when do you sleep? And the answer was never. There's no time to sleep. I'll rest when I'm done. Absolutely.
Now, you've talked about not only just music, you're doing a little bit with the NFL now and bridging cultures there. Let's talk about 2025.
Great year.
In terms of, it's been a great year. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen a steady growth, especially coming out of the pandemic. What has 2025 been like for you? How would you say the African music industry has been this last 12 months?
I think we are in a very interesting time. I think a lot of people had projections and ideations and forecasts of where Afrobeats would be at the end of 2025. And I'm happy to see some have come true. I'm sad to see that some haven't come true. But most importantly, I'm actually really looking forward to what the next 3 to 5 years look like for us, because every genre, according to my research, has a shelf life of 5 to 7 years on the main charts. And if we're going from Love Matiti, I admit that, we had Come Closer and all the other Azontos, but if we talk about Afrobeats dominating the charts, I would say that we are definitely in year 5 or 6. And so if we're going according to stats, 1 year left. What does that look like for Afrobeats? And just because it's happened to other genres like reggaeton, and maybe it's even happened to genres like bashment, does it mean it will still happen for Afrobeats or not? And so, I'm really interested to see what it looks like for monetization, for ownership, for the ecosystem, for our artists. This year, the tours haven't been as loud as they were last year. The stadiums haven't been as filled as they were last year. And I'm interested to see why.
You spoke about reggaeton and, reggae and bashment. Of course, a lot of times they had like incredibly high highs. And then there was a period where it was a little bit slow. Now, one of the things that people actually feel that could take Afrobeats global, which has been sampled a little bit, is cross genres, genre blending, looking at R&B and Afrobeats. You spoke about the Love Wanting Teens or the Essences. But the question also is, does genre blending, does it help our culture, or does it dilute the African culture and African music?
Yeah, great question. I think when you're looking about helping and harming, I definitely think it's in a direction of helping, as long as we stay true to the sound. What we're finding is a lot of artists, because they are attempting to crack new markets, they may change their lingo, they may change the cadence, they may change the beat pattern, and suddenly something that is traditionally Afrobeats, the music that we know and love, becomes something that's a bit too foreign for the local market, but also not foreign enough for the market they're trying to penetrate. And then you're in this halfway house where it doesn't really hit. And I think this year we've seen quite a bit of that.
What songs would you say stood out to you in 2025?
Oh my gosh, everyone is going to say Laho.
Okay.
Yes. Everyone is going to say With You.
Yes.
I think I loved generally Tiwa's project, seeing her
The
in the R&B bag.
Yeah.
You For Me is one of my favorite tracks of the year. I've also really loved, actually, on the topic of collaboration, seeing American artists realize the strength in Afrobeats and featuring them. So we've seen Ghana with Wiz, Ghana with Burna. We've seen Sierra with obviously Oxlade and Molly, Oxlade being one of my artists, and so on and so forth. And so I'm excited, actually, really, for 2026 to show us what collaboration looks like on a more even playing field.
Speaking about collaboration, obviously the Anglophone artists have been hugely successful across Africa and Francophone sports. We've seen Burna Boy in stadiums in Paris. But when you look at the Francophone artists, your Nakamura's, your Jungelis, your Tykes, who are doing incredibly well in French-speaking spaces, they find it extremely difficult to break barrier into the Anglophone market. What are your thoughts about that? And what do you think the problem is?
Earlier this year, I saw Tyke and Daju take over the OVO Wembley Arena. And I was enamored because the audience didn't look like me and you. It was a proper mix. They had a lot of white people in the audience. Yes. And so I sat back and I thought, okay, we have this conversation about how do they penetrate? But if we look at it on the volume level, where is the French diaspora? They're not really in the UK. They are in Paris. They're in Marseille, they're in France, they're in Belgium. And so when we say they don't cross over, I 100% agree, but they're crossing over into the mother nations. I hate using the term, but they're crossing over into their European counterparts.
Spain.
When it comes to looking at the UK, I think we've seen attempts, right? Aya had a great song with Ira Star, the Aya and the Ira collaboration. We've seen Tyke do collaborations with pretty much everyone. And my question then is, okay, so what will it take? Because also, when we look at our big artists, many of them have crossed over. Someone like Yemi happily sings in French, and she claims 9 languages that she sings in, 7 or 9. And so I think it's a more deliberate effort to do things like media, to do things like products. Generally, I feel like our Afro artists need products. When I think about a Billie Eilish universe, I can think about her music book. Like, she has her music scored. I can think about a doll that she has. I can think about going to her concert and getting merch that is limited edition. I can think of capsule collections. And yes, we've seen Boohoo Man do that with a few artists. Like Techno, like Burna, like Omale, like Shani Poppy, actually.
I think Rema had one.
Yes. But do we see our French artists doing that consistently on this side? What makes it special for them on this side? And I think that's the part that is missing, even with the artist that I mentioned earlier that took over Wembley Arena, Tyke and Daju. And when I think about what did they do deliberately to enter the Anglophone space, most of the effort seemed to be within the French-speaking diaspora. And so, again, I'm excited for next year to see more artists making more deliberate efforts to penetrate the consciousness, because our attention span is so short these days, and we have so many options with social media going crazy. And so artists, camps, labels have to give us an incentive and a reason to tune in. And that means being in our face all the time, as much as possible, across multiple pillars. So not just in entertainment, but in sports, with food and beverage. Like, how do we get into the 5 pillars of culture, fashion, etc.? And so we need to, they need to be, and I say we, because I think it's something that all Afro artists need to concertively do, be across all 5 pillars of pop culture as often as possible.
Absolutely. When you talk about them being in our faces, they also have to be in our spaces. And not only talking about, England. I'm also talking about Nigeria, Ghana. We don't see Tyke in Nigeria or Ghana. We don't see Daju in Nigeria or Ghana. They don't do press out there. And it leads me to one of the conversations I had actually with Tyke about 3 or 4 years ago with his management then, at the time when he had sold out at the Indigo 2, which was a phenomenal achievement for someone who wasn't on any playlist here. I thought the next thing would be just go home to Lagos. He could communicate perfectly in English, because he's Cameroonian and French. So he's one of the few that's very comfortable speaking English. He had a full interview, 30, 40 minutes interview with me. So I felt, listen, this can work. All you need to do is go to Lagos, go to Ghana, stop in Kenya, stop in Uganda, stop in South Africa, and within months, you'll be one of the biggest Francophone artists out there. But they never did any of that. And
it's crazy because just 3 weeks ago, he filmed a Red Bull symphonic similar to what Asake did. And he actually brought out Oxlade to do Closer. And it was incredible. And he's been tagging it as his last show. So I'm really curious to see
Yeah, if that is...
Yeah, or if we're doing, you know, a Jay-Z, or who else has said that they were disappearing, Olamide, and came back. We love it. We love it.
Absolutely.
But again, really interesting to see the audience that came out. And his catalog is crazy. So, and I say this sparingly, but he's one of the artists that can actually really sing.
Incredible.
Doesn't need
and
auto-tune. And
dance. And dance.
He can really dance.
And
so
dance.
yeah, when I think about Afrobeats and I think about, you know, P Square and the pop artists, the Afro pop artists that were all singing or dancing, in this day and age, we don't have that many. And the fact that Daju is one of them, Tyke is one of them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I need him to want it.
Absolutely. You're speaking about dancing. It just, a light bulb switched in my head, which is, you know, it's almost like you can't release a song nowadays without a TikTok challenge. And we don't know if it's the PR executive or the management that's insistent on the artist always jumping on the TikTok challenges or social media trends. But the big question is, are these challenges and trends, are they either shortening the lifespan of African pop music, or do you think they're being, you know, a positive for the music and our space?
For the very first time, I think music is really, truly democratized. Let's think 10 years ago, 20 years ago, unless an A&R that was in your favor or a label that had major financial backing, you couldn't pierce through. And so I think social media has evened out the playing field. Again, you have to be consistent with the content. You have to be creative with the content. But again, for the first time, the gatekeepers that were traditionally holding the gates,
the television stations,
they're having to catch up now. I think the downside of this is that A&Rs are becoming a bit more lazy. And so they're only looking at the numbers of social media. They're not sitting in the bars like they used to or going to the open mics to find this rare gem. But every business is a business. They're looking at their profit and loss, and they're looking for a sure thing. They're looking for a guarantee. And if you're able to build a community and build numbers on social media, I understand the shortcut. Full stop.
Okay.
Now, when we think about artists, let's say in the last 5 to 6 years, especially in our space, that have really blown. Let's think of Jackie. Let's think of Goyo Menor. Let's think of Wonder Banton. All of these artists that didn't necessarily have a global presence before blowing on TikTok, and then went astronomical after TikTok. You can see the positive effects. They've been able to get crazy deals. They've been able to tour the world. They've been able to do international shows. And again, traditionally, that may or may not have happened if we're thinking about the traditional label structure. When it comes to longevity, I'm of the opinion that right now, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, that live on TikTok, that live on Snapchat, they're not thinking about artists the way we did or the way our parents did. They're not thinking about, you know, the Barry Whites or the Michael Jacksons or the Whitney Houstons that had 30, 40, 50 years in the charts, on the stage, touring. Again, attention spans are small. So they're thinking, okay, what's going to keep me entertained today? Not even tomorrow. And so I think we are in a very unique position to figure out how can we create longevity for these artists. Because unfortunately, for some of the names I've mentioned and for a lot of the names I haven't, after the weight of having a viral moment, they've almost had to play catch up. And because there hasn't necessarily been a strategy in place or funding in place or even an internal structure in place, they've been able to tour that summer. And then the following year,
it hasn't quite followed through from that viral hit record.
You said it for me.
So that means that, in a lot of cases, right now it's about short term, whereas the longevity it's either a stroke of luck or consistency.
This is it. And I think with our stars that have been able to ride the wave, I'm also seeing them see the importance in social media, and those that traditionally weren't doing the dance challenges or weren't doing the giveaways, because giveaways was a huge thing in the pandemic. We're seeing them lean more into being a bit more vulnerable, showing a different side to them, leaning away from mystery, because I mean a lot of artists were following a model that worked for an artist that was mysterious, and a lot of them are realizing that actually they have to
show that
build out their
of
brand universe. The audience and the community they're building has to be on authenticity. And even if it's a persona and not the real person, I think a lot of artists are finding that they're having to show a lot more of their persona. And so again, 2026, I'm really interested to see who maintains the mystique and who decides, I'm going to do more. Let's take Nasty C as an example. Didn't think he would be a streamer, and now he streams
he's
everything.
Creating content with his partner and his kid, and that was someone that was quite private in the past.
100%. And I mean, he built a lot of his community from gaming and doing the live streaming that way. And then I believe that the community saw his personality when he was reacting to whatever game he was playing, and that has allowed him the freedom to be a lot more vulnerable, more transparent, more open. And so, yeah, again, I'm interested to see who's going to take the plunge next.
Speaking about Nasty C, that's a successful South African musician, a superstar rapper, one of my favorite lyricists on the continent right now. But out of South Africa has also come an incredibly successful genre in Amapiano, in the superstars like Maphorisa and Kabza De Small. Now, this year saw a historic achievement where both artists headlined at the stadium in South Africa. Talk to me about the importance of the significance of having two DJs headline at a 70,000 capacity stadium in South Africa, Amapiano DJs. What is the significance of that to our culture? And just talk to me about it.
One, DJs have always been the unsung hero from genres from the continent. We know that there are 54 countries and there are over 60 recognized genres.
Yep.
And we know that DJs have been pivotal in pushing Amapiano, three-step, Kwaito, and all of the genres that have kind of crossed over. Gom. I know I haven't said it right. Gom. Okay, there we go.
Gom.
You got it. And so I think 70,000 is monumental on any
level.
But to be a DJ, and also noting that in the last, I'd say, 3 to 5 years, a lot of the DJs that have crossed over have been the all singing, all dancing, maybe in a bikini, to see that they don't have to have the additional theatrics and have stayed true to their craft
of DJing.
Beautiful. And I think when we talk about Amapiano, a lot of times there is that friction of Afrobeats versus Amapiano.
Yes.
Is Afrobeats the umbrella term for all music from the continent? Is Amapiano an offshoot? And so on and so forth. The Niger piano, we know the conversations. And for me, it was...
don't let them hear that.
They hate the term, but I understand the reason for segmenting it, because it's
completely different from the authentic Amapiano that comes from South Africa anyway.
Exactly.
Because that's true to the source. That has a lot more essence of South African culture in it.
Right. And I think even from the instrumentation, it's more than just the lock drum. It's so much more. And so to see two DJs with a capacity at that side, with a genre that has felt like it's emerging, I feel like this is the crowning moment to be like, okay, it's no longer emerging. Amapiano is here and it's here to stay. And at the top of the year, a lot of people are talking about, okay, is Afro House going to be the new wave? Is three-step going to come in and take over from piano? And to see that actually... both can live. Yeah, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. Yeah. It doesn't have to be either or. I'm happy for them.
What does that do for the DJing culture in Africa? Because yes, we're talking about South Africa, Amapiano, there's, three-step, there's Afro House, but we also have Afrobeats DJs. What does that do for the DJ culture?
Again, I think it's a crowning moment when we think about people like Obi, DJ Obi with Obi's House, when we think about DJ Tunes, and he's had his residency at Coco. I think for the very, very first time, we're seeing events that aren't centered on headliners, but they're centered on experience. And when we have a generation that is locked in on their phone and everything is experienced through a screen, I feel there is a hunger for that in-person interaction, that in-person experience. And these DJs are doing it for us. And so to have two headline at a 70K cap, I think it encourages and inspires DJs that actually they no longer have to be the guys in the back. They no longer have to be the warm-up act. They no longer have to build their brand by who they're touring with. They can stand alone and be respected for the great work that they do.
Absolutely. In 2025, we've had quite a number of crossover acts, of course, from South Africa, your Maphorisas, your Kabzas, your Caesars, the list goes on, with artists that have really just sprung up and crossed the entire continent. And then we have from East Africa as well, Joshua Baraka, whose voice has also gone across the continent. Outside of those two significant countries, what other countries in Africa or artists in Africa have you seen cross the continent the way these other, these two main countries did? Or what should we be looking for in getting or encouraging more artists to have those type of moments that these ones have had this year?
Now, I want to answer your question, but I really want to give Joshua Baraka a huge shout out. He's one of the artists that I think saw the way Afrobeats moved in the UK and said, okay, I'm going to adopt a similar model. Obviously, he signed to Moves Recordings, and we know that they have huge traction on this side anyway. But every single year he's done a show and he's added an extra 100, 200 capacity, not trying to go crazy, but ensuring that his community feel loved, feel catered for, feel seen, feel connected to, and he's here all the time. He does the media rounds, and most importantly, he's done the collaborations that are so strategic, you can't ignore him even if you wanted to. So the track with J5 from Places, absolutely love the song. And then obviously they've done a joint project together. And again, building on the momentum, not resting on his laurels, not resting on the fact that he had a couple of viral moments this year, but saying, okay, I understand that my community need to see me, need to hear from me. And so I'm going to serve them where they are, and Joshua Baraka has done that. I feel like I'm really, really excited. There are other artists in East Africa like Otil Brown that I would love to see do
those things.
Diamond Platnumz has obviously set the bar super high. We look at people like Rayvani, we look at Harmonize. And if you permit me, I would say that they are maybe I don't want to say generation before because they're still active, but I'm keen to see the new gen are on this side, because we know who they are in East Africa, but how many of them are making a concerted effort, as I say, to be present?
Exactly. So that's the question. What should they be doing to break out of their communities? Like you said, we already know who they are in Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, but we want to know them on a continental basis, and then obviously on a diasporan basis.
I know the question usually comes as well saying, do we actually need international validation? And I don't take it as a validation point. I take it as an expansion point. You want your art to be seen globally. We know that the UK and London specifically is a second home for African music and Afrobeats. So it makes sense to be here. Things to do outside of media tours, because I feel like I bled that one to death. Outside of strategic collaborations, which I touched on with J5. I think it's understanding who you are as an artist, who your audience is, and connected with them on an intimate and intentional level. So we talk about TikTok, and even TikTok has really changed in the last 18 months. I'd say that the dance challenges and stuff that used to pop then don't necessarily translate the same way now. A lot of content is actually more long form. It's how-tos. It's this is me getting ready for this. This is how I prepare for this. And people are wanting to see
carrying people along.
And the persona behind the person. They're wanting to see the BTS. They're wanting to see the raw emotion. And so it truly is understanding the type of content that works for you. And again, just doing it consistently. I'd also say that on this side, the UK is not very forgiving. So we need shows, we need consistent shows, we need festivals, we need consistent festivals. And we also need that level of transparency that says, okay, I missed a show, I'm going to apologize, but I'm going to make it up to you in a way that will be so unforgivable and so unforgettable that you can't stay mad at me. Absolutely. And so I think it's the 4 pillars. I always say the 4 Ps. It's press, it's promo, it's publications, it's playlisting, but also it's placement. Some of this doesn't have to be so overt. How many red carpets have you done? Have you done a couple of movie premieres? Are you linked in with the fashion houses?
Any fashion shows?
Are you going to Copperbox and watching the London Lions, the basketball? And so again, how can you be so undeniably unforgettable? And how can you do that consistently?
You mentioned validation, which also brings me to a question. Validation, Grammy Awards, validation or elevation? How does that affect our culture?
Can it be both?
Explain.
All right. So as a voting Academy member, I'm obviously going to advocate for the Grammys. As one of the authors for the very first award that we have for African music, I have to advocate for the Grammys. I'd also like to let you know that next year we have some big news coming. So we currently only have 1 award, and that might be changing in 2026. So let's see. We've also seen announcements officially from the Grammys that they're looking to have more of a presence on the continent. And you would have seen the tours that the CEO has done in Rwanda, in Ghana, in Nigeria, looking for a second home for the Grammys, or rather an African home for the African Grammys. So again, keep your eyes peeled for that. With regards to validation or elevation, I believe that sometimes people forget that the Grammys are still an American-based awards show. And so it's a temperature check of penetration into a market. It's the same thing with the BRITs. Again, I'm a member of the voting. Same thing with the MOBOs, same thing with the BETs. It's a temperature check of your penetration in that market. Because America is the mecca for music, a lot of people believe that that is a global indicator. And that's not always the case. Right. So with regards to expansion, I think it is a good temperature check to see, okay, have I entered the market in the way that I thought? Am I perceived in a way that I think? And let's not forget, America is 50 states.
Yeah.
You could have blown in New York, which is East Coast, but
you haven't touched Mississippi.
And no presence in LA or the Middle Belt or the Bible Belt or down south. Yeah. And so I think, again, you could tour America, which we did. I'll do a quick segue. So this time last year, I was on the road with Oxlade. Yep. We did a 30-city tour across Canada and the US. And just the drastic difference between being in like New Orleans versus like a Portland, not just different people, different landscape, different temperature, different everything. And also it was really interesting to see the songs that picked up in one city versus another. And so I believe that award shows help with expansion because, again, you and I were there last year.
2 years ago.
2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Time.
It's been a minute. And even the conversations we have with Afrobeats artists out there, even the conversations we have with non-Afrobeats artists, but people that are just consumers, listeners, it's great to see how far the expansion has come, but also a better indicator of how much more we have to do. With regards to validation, I believe that expansion comes off the back of validation. Yeah. And so you're able to charge more in terms of show fees. You're able to command a bigger audience or a bigger, not just show fees, but brand deals, bigger capacity venues.
Gives you more access to bigger media platforms because you're a Grammy nominee.
Because even if you're not a Grammy winner, being Grammy nominated is great. And this year, I am so happy. So obviously last year, Tyler won. Yeah. To have our first winner as a female, great. To have our second winner as Thames, another female, great. This year, Eddie Kenzo is nominated.
Yes. The second time.
And I truly believe that, I don't know who's going to win. Yes, and even if I didn't, I couldn't say.
Nobody knows.
But to know that it's not just a Nigerian conversation, to know that it is expanding into a continental conversation again.
Which it should.
It should be. And we know that there are conversations about having one award, is it pigeonholing?
Yeah.
Everyone else has said it, so I won't go into that too much. I think it can be both. I think it's validation. I think it's expansion. I think it's visibility. And in entertainment, being visible is being valuable. And so we need both.
Okay. A very interesting thing that happened 2 different times this year. We saw a historic return on stage with Sarkodie and Shatta Wale in Ghana at the Kumasi Stadium performance. And we also saw Yemi Alade and Tiwa Savage on a panel together in Lagos, Nigeria. Now, those 2 iconic moments show what collaboration is and what does that signify to you? Number one, to see Sarkodie and Shatta Wale, who had been arch rivals for years, and then to see the 2 pillars of African women when it comes to the music industry over the past 15 years or plus sit down together and basically sing from the same hymn sheet. What did those moments signify for you?
I'm looking at you and I'm smiling. Yeah. Like my cheeks are hurting. Yeah. Both moments are so monumental. I'll start with the ladies because always ladies first.
Of course.
Just even seeing the panel, right? It was Tiwa, it was Yemi, we had Tenny, we had King Madi, and so first of all, it's a multi-generational conversation. Secondly, it was a transparent conversation talking about the experience of being a woman in our scene, being in entertainment in general, and as a woman in this scene, in entertainment in general. I was like, okay, these experiences aren't unique to certain types of women. It cuts across the board. Secondly, to see Yemi give Tiwa her flowers so unapologetically, to see them snapping photos together, to see them, that conversation that, there's been whispers about what's happened in the past. Yeah. To see what I can only call a reconciliation was beautiful.
Absolutely.
We are in an era where there are so many things that are fighting against us. We need each other. And so this moment to me was a long time coming, especially because there were other conversations earlier this year with other female artists in Tiwa where it wasn't the same narrative. And so I'm really happy to see that without having to do a statement or a press conference, they're able to show us that they buried the hatchet if there was a hatchet to bury. Yeah. And they've been able to put on a united front. And even if it's not a front, I'm hoping that they're cool behind the camera too. Absolutely. And I think the example that it gives to the King Maddies that were on the panel shows that collaboration is always stronger than competition.
Absolutely.
1, 2, Shatta and Son. Jesus. Like Bim Nation. I didn't think that anybody was anticipating it. And I think what it's done for the culture, one, we know that the population of Ghana is the same as Lagos State, 36 million. So they, as a community, as a culture, as an industry, can't afford the friction, in my opinion. And I also think that how do I say this? For someone that's maybe more hip hop based,
yes,
maybe having that rivalry keeps things spicy, keeps the communities bubbling. But with two of the, I mean, when we think about the greats, right? It's the three S's. Yeah. It's Shatta.
Yep.
It's Suck. It's Stone.
Yeah.
And they've given birth to, the 4Ks, the Kings, the Kwames, whatever. Yeah. And so, beautiful moment. Again, I'm keen to see if we're going to get like a joint tour out of it, a joint project. One of the things that I think that's missing in our space is letting legacy acts be legacy. And I'm not calling them legacy acts, but when we think about Vegas, right?
Yeah.
And we think of having residencies, the Adeles, the Britneys, the J-Los. Unfortunately, I don't know that we've been able to create that culture the same way. Yeah. And it forces artists that should be reveling in their catalog and in their legacy, forced to create narratives and headlines and
just trying to keep it young and fresh when they don't have to.
I don't need either of them on TikTok. Absolutely. I don't even want to see it. I need them doing residencies for a month, 2 months, 6 months of the year. I need them touring. And again, there are things like infrastructure that create blockers for that. Do we have the right capacity venues? Do we have the right security? Do we have the right light? Do we have the roads to get from one venue to another? That aside, I think this is the dawn of a new era where I'm hoping we see more of our greats collaborate, because really it is us against the world.
Absolutely. Penultimate question. You talked about touring, infrastructure. Davido just went through Nigeria from Abuja to Akwa, to Uyo to Ibadan. Unprecedented national touring. Is this taking it back home? We've talked about infrastructure in the past. What does this signify to have one of the big artists in our culture taking it back home and touring Nigeria at the level that he's done this year?
I love it. What does it mean for the culture? Everything. We haven't seen an artist of that caliber do this
in a while.
A long time. I'd venture to say 10 years. We've seen newer artists like Lona do it, and again doing it at more of a university level. We've seen people like Jariq obviously go back home. He's from the East and do crazy numbers.
Incredible.
But to see, like I said,
national.
And not just when he's in a quiet period, but prioritizing touring his home nation in one of the busiest times of the year, whilst he's still rolling out his project. Beautiful to see. I'm hoping it sets the precedent for every artist to prioritize home. We see a lot of the conversation online saying, oh, these international artists go abroad and they give them the show of their lives and they come home and they give us crumbs. So to see that even the quality of what was being delivered was premium, to see the excellence that was delivered with regards to the stage production and the timing and the organization, I think it sets the precedent. And now that the bar is here, I'm hoping it means that artists don't try to belittle it for the home audience, because home is just as important as away.
Facts. And finally, what are the 3 albums in Africa this year that stood out to you?
Oh, there were so many.
Yeah.
And I do my new Music Friday playlist.
Yes.
So I see
everything.
150 releases a week. Minimum. Where do I want to start? I loved Fuji, Adekunle Gold. Loved. Still love.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, where do I want to go?
It's a tough one.
It's so tough, but the fact that stood out, obviously, I loved David's album. I'm just going to say who I love, and it's not going to be top 3. This is no order.
No, it's just...
No Sign of Weakness, Burner. I'm ticking all the boxes. Yeah. I loved Tiwa's album, obviously.
Yeah. You've gone beyond 3.
I know.
Yeah, so we'll just cap it at that. So you have given 1 to a queen, Tiwa Savage. You said Burner, you said David, and you said Fuji. All incredible albums, by the way. And I think they stand out for completely different reasons. I think for me, LAX at the beginning of the year, I really enjoyed that. Adekunle Gold, 100%. And I think I would have to go, even though Flavor Nabani has got me right now, but I think I have to go with Tiwa Savage just because of the significance of the difference that she brought to the table. Because that was a big, that was a big test. And she wanted to make a huge statement. Everybody would have expected an Afrobeats queen to come with an Afrobeats album, as she should have. But she decided to go with her heart and what she felt like delivering, which was just incredible R&B music. And then we'll get back to the culture, hopefully in 2026. Listen, my sister, we can go on and on and on. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you. You're such an incredible ambassador for this culture. You've done an incredible job for the last couple of years, whether it's on radio, television, or behind the scenes. And we can see the benefits right there. Your bling, like the bling, I can't help it. I can't see. Yes. So ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for my sister, Gracey May. And that was your edition of the Swift Conversation with me, Adesope. Catch you next time. Such a pleasure, my sister.
Thanks for having me, bro.
You're welcome.